Oh, what a day we've had getting started.
No.
It's going to be a great show, though. Hold it. This is not a Nostalgic Podblast. We interrupt this program for a special new show on fistfulofradio.com. This is called, thanks to our friend Ryan, who's supposed to be here, by the way.
Miss you, Ryan.
But this is called Channel Zero, and this is an experiment. We're preempting just for this 1 week the Nostalgic Podblast, which will be on fistfulofradio.com from 2 to 5. And I'm here with Daniel Cochran, otherwise known as Danny. He's a regular contributor to the Nostalgic Podblast. How you doing, Danny?
I'm doing well.
Well, we have had a hell of a time getting going today. First, I got stuck in traffic. There was major construction. We were supposed to start at 2, and now it's 2:55 p.m., so we're 55 minutes late. Then we couldn't get audio on my laptop. So it's just been a hell of a time getting started. But we're here, and it's going to be a great show.
Chance, I have to interrupt. I've been advised by my attorneys and lawyers that before anybody listens to this broadcast, that they need to be warned that it could cause heart palpitations, psychological damage.
I've already got that.
Suicidal tendencies, perhaps just like general moroseness. So we're covered. Like my attorneys are standing by. So
just don't pull out a knife and start stabbing me for being late.
I would make sure I turned off the camera.
Yeah, you don't want to incriminate yourself.
Well, I mean, my favorite game is Murder in the Dark, but it's in the dark, people. So welcome to
Channel Zero.
Channel Zero.
Which Ryan Settles coined, and I like that. And we have a theme I'll play, actually. Get yourself together. I'm going to play a little bit of our new theme for Channel Zero. Here we go. Check this out. 1969. Dig that organ.
I've got an organ for you.
Yeah, all 3 inches of it, I'm sure. Just kidding. You dig that? I like that. That's our theme.
These are made for walking.
And we will take your calls today. And what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about some nerd stuff. The nerds have taken over Fistful of Radio for a couple hours until
Fistful
5
of
p.m.
nerds. Fistful of
Thank
organs.
you, Stefan, for helping us get rolling. And we're going to have a good show. We've brought a bunch of props for the camera. If you're listening on fistfulofradio.com, go to the Facebook page, Fistful of Radio, and you'll see the wonderful stuff that we've brought to share. And how this impacts you is we're going to show you how you can make money. No, this isn't an infomercial. We're not financial advisors. We're not crooks. We're not selling anything. We're going to show you how you can flip things like comic books you can buy for pennies and sell for thousands of dollars. And we're also going to talk about some issues. And we're going to have a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, so the focus of this show is comic books, the MCU, that's
Marvel Comics Universe.
Marvel Comics Universe as it appears in movies, TV shows, and superheroes and pop culture.
And how this relates to you is, I'm sure your families, your kids, they're into the Marvel movies, and also they're into, I'm sure, the Disney Plus streams and all that sort of stuff. And I want to educate you guys. This isn't necessarily a kid's show. This isn't kids stuff. This is actually big money and big movies.
It is.
Big money, not just for Disney, who owns the Marvel Universe now, but money for you. And we'll cover the issues also that's in the news later in the show. But for now, we're going to start with the comics. Danny?
Yeah, so
You're on.
Chance and I have been collecting comic books for many, many years. And as Chance said, there's a lot of money to be had if you know what you're doing. Now, for new collectors, their first question, which is legitimate, is how do I recognize a comic book that has value versus a comic book that doesn't. Now, the two main criterias that you need to look for is age and condition. Now, the number one way that you can tell roughly the age of a comic book is based on the cover price. Starting back in the 30s up until the 60s, early 60s, the cover price on comic books was 10 cents. Is the camera still working, Chance?
Until 1962.
Is the camera still working?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a cover price, a 10-cent comic. I can't see the video, so hopefully people watching Fistful of Radio, you guys can see this.
I'm on it. I'll show you a monitor. Keep going.
Here's another cover price 10-cent comic. These are from the 50s. Now, we've discussed this briefly, but if you guys missed this broadcast, we talked about EC Comics. This is what's called pre-comic book code. Basically what that means is during the 50s, there was no sort of like governing body, and they could show stuff like this one where, here's somebody like chopping up his next door neighbor holding an axe in a bathtub. And there was this gentleman that wrote a book called Seduction of the Innocent. And basically what it postulated...
Ooh, that sounds a little naughty there. Seduction of the Innocent. Jesus,
well,
what are we talking about here?
Basically, it postulated that comic books were the cause of the rise in juvenile delinquency. Now, what they did not factor in is this is right around like and during World War II. So you had all these young men that were sort of bereft of a father figure because he's off fighting the Japanese, he's off fighting the Nazis, and maybe dad did not make it home from the war, or maybe because of the horrors of war, when dad did get home, maybe he was like a little bit checked out. Now, you also had, during this time frame, where in large numbers, women entered the workforce for the first time. Everybody's seen like the Rosie the Riveter and all that stuff, and they were out there building the airplanes and the tanks to contribute to the war effort. So this left little Billy and Timmy home alone with not a lot to do. So little Billy and little Timmy found ways to get into trouble. And as opposed to people looking at that going, well, it's this lack of a father figure and this change of a family dynamic that maybe has Billy hanging out on the street corner with his, greaser friends. This guy comes out with his book, Seduction of the Innocent, where it's like, it's the comic books. That's the blame, people. And we've seen this happen, time and time again, where it's Elvis Presley wiggling his hips. It's that heavy metal music. It's that what was it, like Mortal Kombat video game. It's too violent. It's too violent for our children, and that's what's causing them to run amok in the streets. So, Bill Gaines, who ran EC Comics, actually, there was like a congressional hearing.
Who also published Mad Magazine later on down the road.
Right, it leads up to Mad Magazine. So he actually goes before this congressional hearing, and he did not do well, because where he's being asked, like here's this guy, and he's holding this severed woman's head. Don't you think that's offensive? And he's like, well, if I really wanted it to be offensive, I would have shown like where her neck was cut off. He didn't really do well on the stand. And the comic book industry got so frightened that the federal government was basically going to come in and regulate the industry that they created this self-policing industry, the comic books code. And some of it, like now, is like very laughable. Like they couldn't use the word zombie. They couldn't use the word vampire.
No shit. You got to be shitting me.
No, this is true. Or werewolf. So, I don't know if I can find something. I mean, I can find any comic book that, I don't know if there's a lag time on this. So, After that, every comic book had this little label in the corner, which says approved by the Comic Code Authority, which means it's safe for children. So they got like really nervous about showing even, factual depictions of the female human form.
The human female anatomy.
Because that's
luscious female anatomy.
That's naughty. You can't show cleavage. You can't show that. We have to make them look like young boys. So that was the introduction to, basically the end of horror comics. And
horror. Sounds like you're saying horror.
Horror.
Okay.
So
let me be clear.
Yeah. So there was this transition between, weird science fantasy, this factual flying saucer report that challenges the U.S. Air Force, and weird fantasy, and your two big comic book companies, DC Comics and Marvel Comics, which at the time was Atlas Comics, they were doing their own thing with monsters, Strange Tales. Now you can tell this moves up in time a little bit, because now instead of that 10 cent, it's a 12 cent. And Chance could tell you, this is the last issue of Strange Tales in the horror genre before they introduced the superheroes. Back in, once again, the Atlas, before Marvel acquired the properties. Here's Marvel Tales, the 10 cent.
And these comics are worth a lot of money.
Yeah. Uncanny Tales, another 10 center. Now, this one I really love. This is a title of Marvel Comics called Journey into Mystery. And this is number 71. Now, at issue number 83, they introduced a character that you all might know out there. Is called the Mighty Thor. And there's been a number of movies with the Mighty Thor.
Well, he was a Norse god, though. So there was the god of thunder in Norse mythology. So really, Stan Lee cannot be credited as creating Thor, the god of thunder.
That's true. And we talked about once before, watching, was it Kevin Smith, the Marvel's Monsters, something?
Mutants, Marvels. Anyway, Kevin Smith produced a documentary in 2002 where he interviewed Stan Lee.
And he's interviewing Stan Lee, and they're talking about Thor. And Stan Lee, he comes out through misremembering the name of Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. And he was just sort of like, we sort of just tossed around names and stuff. And Mjolnir or something like that. And of course, Kevin Smith did not correct Stan Lee, because why would you? His memory was just a little bit off about that one little detail. But as Chance mentioned, the Thor comics goes way back to Norse mythology, and all of those characters of Loki and
Odin, his father,
the Rainbow Bridge and Asgard and all that stuff, all goes back to Norse mythology.
Wait, you said Rainbow Bridge. I got to play that opening song.
Cross the Rainbow Bridge.
Let's get to the point, though. Let's get to the point. When did Marvel superheroes pass the horror, pass the code, where comics were basically censored, right? Yes. Because of the congressional hearings relating to that book, Seduction of the Innocent, where the congressional leaders had scared the public into thinking, if your kids read comic books, they're going to be juvenile delinquents. Right. This is bad for your family, bad for America. So they started censoring books. Well, in August 1961, Fantastic Four #1 was released to the public, and that changed everyththing.
It did. Well,
and who's the Fantastic Four? It's four astronauts. They're like SpaceX, actually. They're like Elon Musk. Reed Richards goes up on a space shot in a shuttle, and he and Susan Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm are exposed to cosmic radiation, and they get powers. Yes. Johnny Storm becomes the Human Torch. By the way, he was around in the 40s in the comics as an android.
And for people
fighting the Nazis.
For people not familiar with comic book terminology, that's referred to as the Golden Age. And there was a Human Torch, there was a Captain America, there was Submariner that all existed during this, as Chance said, World War II era, fighting the Nazis. And, I guess people tired
Like
of
Captain America issue 1, he's freaking punching out Hitler. Excuse my French.
Yes,
he's punching out Adolf Hitler. It's a
punching
classic
out.
cover.
Well, and I always like where they're fighting the Nazis and stuff. I mean, to me, it's like kind of nostalgic. I'm sure the depiction, particularly of the Japanese, might now be considered offensive.
Yeah, well, they called them Japs.
Well, and it's very over, characterized.
Danny, but do you know the answer to this? Was this before they bombed Pearl Harbor, the Japanese, or was it prior to that? Because they were already in the Axis powers. Okay, the Japanese were aligned with Germany to take over the world.
True.
Before the bombing of Pearl Harbor in Hawaii.
But it is the bombing of Pearl Harbor that got Congress to give Roosevelt the go-ahead for us to enter the war. I mean, he'd been like...
And end the war.
Well, that's
with
later on. But
Hiroshima and Nagasaki and dropping the nuclear bomb.
Roosevelt sort of...
The hydrogen bomb.
He sort of knew that we had to enter this war. And so he was doing a whole lot of stuff in terms of giving aid to Great Britain and seeing what their struggles were. Because he was like, okay, eventually we have to get into this fight. So in terms of comic books, in terms of war propaganda, I would definitely think that would have been post Pearl Harbor, because that's when the U.S. yes, we're in this war now, and as he said, before Congress was December 7th, 1941.
A day that will live in infamy.
A date which will live
on in infamy.
In infamy, yeah.
And we're not making light of this.
Well, no.
We're Americans.
And so, I think the comic book community at the time being equally roused to the call for victory and all that stuff, they threw their hat in the ring and they decided to use their heroes to we're fighting the Nazis, we're fighting the Japanese
for patriotism,
right? Well, and they also did,
and Wonder Woman as well.
Wonder Woman
on the DC side. That's another. There's two major comic companies, and we'll talk about other issues in a minute. This isn't just going to be a comic book show, folks. For those that are not into comics, but we're going to show you why you should be. That's what this is about in our introduction in our first hour. I didn't mean to derail you. You're talking about World War II effort. It was a way to get people.
Well, and also in the comic books, they roused the younger public to, paper drives and buy war bonds and stuff. It was a national effort towards this war effort. Now, where this becomes important is with those paper drives of World War II, young people were like, yes, I will just get all these stacks of my old comic books and I will throw these into the paper drives and donate this towards the war effort. So all of these early comic books, from the 30s and 40s, very few of them survive because a lot of them got thrown into this war effort. I want to say the first appearance of Superman, Action Comics #1, 1938.
1938 is when Action Comics #1 hit the public, and that's which introduced Superman.
Correct. And I want to say there's about 100 known copies that have survived, because a lot of these just they was marketed towards young people, and
they were burned too. Not only did Mom throw the comics away, that
later.
happened more than anything.
That came later.
But Mom would throw away the baseball cards, the comic books, and a lot of stuff was just lost.
So for people that do collect comics, especially these older issues, because they're made out of paper, and it was something that was marketed towards a younger demographic, which are not known to take care of things. So here is made out of paper, and Billy just rolled up the comic book and threw it in his back pocket, or he let his buddy borrow it, and his buddy's sitting there eating a peanut butter sandwich and flipping the pages, and then he lets another friend borrow it, and then just throw it in the bottom of the toy box. And since it's made out of paper, every single wrinkle, every little crease, every tiny tear affects, the condition of these books. So there's very few of them that remain in pristine condition, especially the older and older you go back.
And the paper deteriorates too, just like an old book.
Absolutely.
Unless you preserve it. And we'll get to that in a sec
Absolutely.
too, how you can preserve these books. But dude, you can still find these if you're really lucky at flea markets, antique side places, garage sales. And I'm telling you, these books are selling for big money. There was just a story I heard on the Shannon Burke show yesterday about, on Florida Man Radio, about, I think it was Batman 1 sold recently for over $1 million.
Yeah. I mean, there are
just recently at auction.
I brought this one to show just because it's an interesting story. And you never know what characters are going to hit or when they are. So I don't want people that are listening.
Meaning being popular. Is that what you mean?
Right. So I don't
that would actually take to the public.
I don't want people listening to this be like, oh, no, man, I wasn't buying comic books 40, 50 years ago, so there is no opportunity. I purchased this at a J&J flea market in Athens, which is Captain America number 117, which is the first appearance of the Falcon. I bought this for $6. Now, I can't see. Now, this is before the Falcon appeared in any Marvel Comic Universe movie. $6, and the condition of this is great. Now, if you're interested in collecting, especially for speculation, there is a website, gocollect.com.
Very important. Say that again.
It's gocollect.com. And you can type in any comic book issue, and it will show you, and this is not a speculative value, this is showing what a graded copy of this is selling for. Now, when I say a graded copy, do you want to take over here for a second?
Sure. Well, there's a scale
I've been talking a whole lot, Chance.
There's a scale of from 1 to 10, and I've never seen a perfect 10. Usually the highest grade you'll see is a 9.8. And there's grading companies out there where you mail your comic and they will slab it, put it in this plastic tomb, which I hate because I love the way comic books feel, smell. And these, by the way, were written for adults. These were written for Vietnam soldiers in the 60s when Stan Lee began in 1961 with Fantastic Four 1 and then The Incredible Hulk and Amazing Spider-Man. These were not written for kids. That's the misconception that pisses me off, is people assume that this is a cartoon show. This is like the Super Friends. No, these have real characters. Yes, there's fantasy. I mean, look at this guy, Dr. Doom, right? He's a guy who was scarred. His face was mangled in an experiment, and he was
but he was a brilliant scientist.
And
he rules Latvia,
a fictional place. But the thing I like about Marvel is they have real cities. They have New York City instead of Metropolis on the DC side for Superman.
Or
Gotham City for Batman. There was a sense of reality. And college students and soldiers were the number one buyers of these books in the 60s.
Well, and
when Stan Lee was writing them.
I'll interject there because to me, like Marvel comics, I'll include DC, but it's like the American mythology, where if you go back and you look at mythology, there's Hercules and he's got all this strength, or there's Samson, or Orpheus, or people that had power, and this is a part of like collective humanity's experience. I think for England, J.R.R. Tolkien, with his whole creation of like Middle Earth, that was sort of like the mythology for England and stuff, and trolls and ogres and dragons and wizards and stuff.
Like Lord of the Rings. I mean, any kind of lore like that. Yeah.
So along comes like Stan Lee and his gang of Steve Ditko and
that's an artist,
and Jack
he drew Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. He was the first artist.
So on the surface, you could look at some of these characters and go, okay, Spider-Man. Oh yeah, here's this guy and he can crawl on walls and he can shoot webs. But when you get to the meat of the story, where here's this teenager and he's not strong. He's not popular.
He's a nerd.
He's a nerd. He's a science geek.
Like me, he's a geek.
And he was marginalized within the sort of high school community. And this
You mean bullied? Picked on. marginalized. Look at you,
well,
Mr. College educated.
So, all of a sudden, through an accident, he gets these just amazing powers and amazing strength. And the tagline,
with great power comes great responsibility,
which happened because his choice to be inactive, his uncle.
No, there was a robber. He was trying to make money at first when he got his powers. He put on a mask and he wrestled, just like in the first movie with Tobey Maguire from 2002. And he could have stopped a robber who went on to shoot and kill his Uncle Ben.
So through his inactivity, and where he's like, I'm just going to look out for number one. And that means me. Where's my money? And so he could have stopped this robber. Like, there was a police officer who was like,
all you had to do was stop him. All you had to do was trip him or something.
And meanwhile, he could have shot a web. He could have tackled him. It's Spider-Man.
Hey, not my problem. I want my money for
looking out for number one.
This wrestling gig. I just want my money. That's right.
And it turns out that this thief that he very easily could have stopped shoots and kills his Uncle Ben. And that's what put him on his journey, his hero's journey. Where he realized that, I could have stopped him. I could have saved this life.
I could have made a difference.
And with great power comes great responsibility. And so when all of a sudden you look at it through that lens, it's a much more compelling story, and it's much more relatable to the everyday common man, where it's like, there's choices that are being made, and then do you choose to do good? Do you choose to sit on the sidelines? Do you choose to do nothing? And so Stan Lee, it made it much more compelling. So you could look at some of these characters and go, here's this guy that bursts into flame, or this guy that's made out of rock. But when you go deeper,
dig deeper,
even like the Incredible Hulk. Okay.
Well, can we say something about Spider-Man real quick?
Yeah.
Did you mention that he was introduced in Amazing Fantasy 15, which was the last issue of this comic that was about to be canceled? And they had two stories. They had like a monster story, and then the story of Spider-Man is about 15 pages long or something. And it started as Amazing Adventures, then Amazing Adult Fantasy, and then they changed the title to Amazing Fantasy. Anyway, this comic was published in 1962, and it's now worth a fortune. And one of Danny's relatives has this comic, a massive collection. I won't say where it is, but it's in Georgia, in the state of Georgia, from a guy who is sadly mentally challenged. But he just had this comic just on his kitchen table.
Yeah.
And Danny's like, you're not going to believe this, Chance. And he had like the first Ant-Man. He had all these really high-dollar comic books in nice condition. And he has like, I don't know, over 100,000 comics in these boxes that are falling apart, but that's another story. Getting back with Spider-Man, just back on point.
Go to Spider-Man.
Amazing Fantasy 15 came out, and it was the last issue. It was a throwaway character, and it just got so popular with the readers. It received so much fan mail. It sold so well. They gave it Spider-Man his own book, Amazing Spider-Man.
Now, as I heard it, Chance, Stan Lee at this juncture, he was sort of considering possibly getting out of comic books. Like, he wanted to write the great American novel and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, he felt unfulfilled, and he was being chastised by his friends. Oh, you write comic books?
Right.
Kind of like how we as collectors are sort of looked down upon, and this is kid stuff. And no, it's actually big money, and this is how it affects you. We'll get to that in just a minute.
So he was considering just getting out of comic books, and his wife was like, "Hey, Stan, you've got this opportunity. Here's this last issue of this title that's being canceled. So they really don't even care what you do. They're canceling it."
So he got with Steve Ditko, the artist.
And he's like, and his wife was like, make the comic book that you would want to see. And that's what he did. And once again, so he brought this realism. Because, let's be honest.
And there's like love stories, action. I mean, there is really good writing. Stan Lee was a very prolific writer. And it wasn't for kids. But can I just say one thing, Danny, not to interrupt? I didn't like how in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, how the webbing was organic, kind of like, not to be gross, a male orgasm. This web just comes out of his wrist, right? But in the comics, it was a device. It had cartridges.
Yes.
And what was interesting, just like a gun running out of bullets, if he ran out of cartridges, he can't swing from building to building. He can't fight against enemies. He's helpless, except for his spidey sense and other abilities to
amazing
climb
strength.
walls. And he does have not Superman strength, but above average human strength, supposedly.
And I will say that added like a great dramatic element where, you know, like Chance said, all of a sudden, like, you know,
oh shit, I'm running low.
Right. And he's
only one cartridge left.
And he's in the
middle. He
middle.
has to choose between saving his woman or saving his own ass.
And he's in the middle of a battle.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it added a greater dynamic element to it. But I also want to say where, you know, what we're talking about, like where Peter Parker was humanized, where he could be understood by, you know, everybody. Like where, I mean, you know, oh no, I'm late for my job, or oh man, I'm getting yelled at by my teacher because I missed this test because I was out fighting this supervillain. And this was things that people could relate to, you know.
And he really had to change into a costume, unlike Superman, who mystically could spin around in like a door or change, you know, jumping off of a window like in the Superman movie. But anyway,
well, and where you compare that to, you know, say Superman, you know, here's a guy from another planet that has like ultimate power.
He's an alien.
Is an alien. So your average person can't really relate to that. Their other big one was Batman. Okay, he's a billionaire, like kind of hard to relate to. But where here's Peter Parker, who has to go to class, who his girlfriend's mad at him because he stood her up, but he can't tell her that he's Spider-Man, or you know his aunt's upset and worried about him. Like these were relatable issues beyond the fact that he was a superhero. So
he had money problems. He was always struggling to pay the rent. Yeah. I mean, that's why I think people related to these characters. Yeah. And so I want to hold up for the camera Fistful of Radio Facebook page if you're listening on Fistful of Radio. We are live, by the way. This isn't pre-recorded. This is what the actual page of a comic book size is. When the artist draws it, it's huge. Okay, here's my hand. It's just, it's not a little tiny publication like this. So there's a comparison. I'm on camera. Okay, there's a delay. So, all right, so we got to move this along a little bit. Eventually, in 1966, there were cartoon TV shows because these books sold like crazy, like I mentioned previously, with college students. And in Vietnam, the soldiers overseas would buy them and read them, you know, in between the battles. And so eventually, Marvel Comics were released on television in these terrible cartoons where they literally didn't have animation. They were taking the panels of a comic book and just moving the mouth. Yeah. And they hired voiceover artists to do
I still love seeing them, though.
The acting. Now, here's one of the themes. I pulled up Thor earlier. Here's one of the theme songs. Actually, we could sing one right now, couldn't we? When Captain America throws his mighty shield. That's all I know. I can't remember the lyrics.
Those who dare to oppose us shield must yield.
Must yield.
And he slept through the fight. And the red and the white.
I'm going to play it.
Come true. Yeah,
that's it. So like here's the one for Thor. Let's listen.
Cross the rainbow bridge to Asgard.
Oh no.
Cross the rainbow
there we go.
Bridge of Asgard, where the booming heavens roar. You'll behold in breathless wonder the God of thunder,
Mighty Thor. So they're very short, brief. I'm going to play a couple more if you don't mind. Well, I hope I don't get dinged. I think I pre-screened this for Facebook. I don't want to get kicked off Facebook. But
it's too bad we can't show the visuals on that.
I know. Here's this classic Spider-Man theme. Oh, of course, there's an ad. All right, 1967, Spider-Man got a cartoon show. This is when it really went to the next level, when you hit television, you know, whether it's animated or live action. So here we go with Spider-Man in color. Everybody knows this. I'm not going to play much of it because I don't want to get dinged. This was featured in the movie with Tobey Maguire. All right, you know it. That's all I'm going to play of that. But now here's the Hulk's theme from 1966, the cartoon show. Doc Bruce Banner, melted by gamma ray, turned into the Hulk.
He and glamour rays,
wrecking the town with the power of a bull.
Ain't no monster clown who is that lovable and ever-loving Hulk.
Hulk, Hulk. and then wait, can I play
Oh,
Iron Man?
sure,
I just got a couple more.
Play it.
All right, here's the Iron Man theme. This has the best audio quality of all these I'm going to play.
Tony Stark.
Listen, here it comes. Wait for it.
Tony Stark makes you feel he's a cool exec with a heart of steel.
As Iron Man, all jets ablaze, he's fighting and smiting with repulsor rays. Amazing armor,
Iron Man.
a blazing bomber.
All right, and then one more, Submariner. This was a guy, he's kind of a ripoff of Aquaman, but he was around in the 40s too, fighting the Nazis, along with Captain America and the Human Torch.
He's much cooler than Aquaman.
He's a prince. Prince of the sea.
Than a whale, he can swim anywhere.
He can breathe underwater and go flying through the air. The noble submariner, prince of the deep.
Trivia about this.
Very deep.
Lord Famer of Atlantis is the prince of the deep.
Okay, you know who voiced him is John Vernon, who later was the dean in Animal House.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Drunk and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Now,
He voiced that character. That was one of his big breaks.
I do want to say, in terms of these early animated cartoons, like, as rudimentary as they are now, I loved them. I couldn't wait to come home and watch them. Now, in an earlier show that Chance and I did,
On the Nostalgic Podblast, which is on fistfulofradio.com, Saturdays and Sundays, 2 to
I didn't
5.
know we could mention that.
Of course.
Talking about comic books, the artwork of comic books exceeded what was able to be done by movies at the time. There was no CGI, there was no computer generated nothing. So you could not really depict this stuff. Even animation was really kind of rudimentary at the time. So the only place that you could see Spider-Man swinging between buildings as he's fighting the Green Goblin, who's on his, bat-shaped rocket flyer, or, buildings exploding, or, the Hulk, ripping a bridge in half.
Or a tank apart.
Ripping a tank apart. The only way that could be rendered in a compelling way was via artwork. Because animation couldn't do it, the movies couldn't do it, and
The technology didn't exist yet.
the technology didn't exist.
This is where
yet.
your imagination really took flight, was reading these comic books.
Right. So I mean, you've got the Ghost Rider, this flaming skull guy on his flaming skull cycle.
Who's a Captain America villain. Speaking of, let's play that theme real quick. Hold that
You
thought.
said Red Skull. I was talking about Ghost Rider.
Oh, sorry.
No, still another skull guy.
When Captain America throws his mighty shield, all those who chose to oppose his shield must yield. If he's led to a fight and a duel is due, then the red and the white and the blue will come through when Captain America throws his mighty shield.
Very patriotic. I like that.
Very cool. Now, Chance, are we going to try to put out the phone number so we can take some live callers?
Sure, 678-996-1776. And we have some Facebook comments, too, which I'll get to. I got in trouble on Facebook for no reason, folks, so I can't comment. Okay, Kim Ponder says, hi, guys. Thanks for watching, Kim. Tim Cochran can barely hear Danny. That's your brother.
That's my brother.
Well,
I can hear me, Tim.
all right. Well, anyway, what happened on Facebook, this is crazy. Two people who I know that are acquaintances on Facebook added me to two groups. One was called the Patriot Group. One was called, nope, not getting political, was called No Liberals Allowed. Someone added me to these groups. Those groups got shut down yesterday by Facebook, and anyone that was a member got suspended for a week. So for a week, I can be on Facebook. I can post on my page, but I can't share to other pages. I can't even respond to the comments coming in. But I'll read them out loud if you want to comment, or call us 678-996-1776. We'll get to something more engaging that relates to you and your life instead of listening to us talk about comics. But
I'm just putting the phone number out there
Okay.
for some of my friends. Hey, Tim, how you doing? Thanks for listening, buddy.
yeah, I'm sorry about Ohio State, man, but what are you going to do? It's Alabama. He's a big Ohio State fan. No. Anyway, I'm going to play another Marvel Superheroes theme song. There we go. And I don't know why Facebook did that to me, but that's a real drag. Have you heard this one, Danny?
Superhero, two-fisted and electrically transistored superhero, an exotically erotic and aquatic superhero. The Marvel superheroes have arrived. Superpowered from the forehead to the toes. Watch them change their very shape before your nose. See arcane striking superhero change to Viking superhero. A humdinging, real swinging, shield flinging superhero. They're the
Is this like the Merry Marvel Marching Society?
It's basically the opening to the whole show. The Marvel superheroes have arrived. And before that, let's face it, the George Reeves Superman TV show really made comic books three-dimensional. That was a big hit show, one of the first shows that was in color on television, to back up a little bit, in the 1950s, right?
Yes.
And so, you know, then these cartoons came out. Marvel hit the scene in late 61, August 61, with Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, as we talked about. Thor, who was a Norse god, Norse mythology. The Incredible Hulk, who was gray initially, and then they made him green.
Yes.
He was a monster. And that was really what sold most prior to the superheroes were monster comic books, like you've mentioned previously in the show, just to reiterate.
Yeah, did we share this one?
I don't know.
I don't know. I brought a bunch. Now, hey, Chance, you got to show your lunchbox I brought you.
Well, yeah, wait to that in a second.
Oh,
just a second.
okay.
I just want to play the Fantastic Four 1967 cartoon
Chance always
opening.
has an agenda.
I do.
He just doesn't let me know what it is.
Well, because we are a radio show. And so it's
to
great
wing
that
it.
we can hold stuff up. And don't misunderstand. I'm glad you brought all this stuff, and I brought stuff too to show. That's wonderful. But I think the audio should be the focus of the show. So that's why I'm just playing some clips for people listening on fistfulofradio.com, streaming live for free. Here's the Fantastic Four cartoon opening, 1967.
Fantastic Four, starring Reed Richards, Sue Richards, Johnny Storr, Ben Grimm.
We're going into space. Here comes the cosmic radiation.
Power to stretch, the thing with the strength of 1,000 men. Johnny, flame on, Torch, and Sue, the invisible girl. The Fantastic Four, united in their fight against interplanetary evil. Fantastic.
It's Galactus.
I think what Tim's saying is my mic is louder than yours, and we need to equalize it.
Chance is always louder than I am.
So anyway, what was interesting about this Fantastic Four cartoon was they had to do away with the Human Torch eventually when it came back in the 70s. All right. And the reason being, they thought the kids would start fires. And so they replaced the Human Torch with a robot, Herbie the robot.
Yeah. I
It was
remember that.
it was really, really hokey. And here's the quick intro to the 1978 version with Herbie the robot. Here we go. It just shows them about to launch into space, like their SpaceX mission.
Testing a new rocket ship. Our heroes were bombarded by mysterious cosmic rays from outer space.
And it's 3 of them, not 4.
So it's like a Fantastic 3 plus robot.
The strange and powerful rays had changed each one of them, transforming their leader, Reed Richards, into the plastic-skinned Mr. Fantastic.
Who could stretch.
Sue Richards into the Now You See Her, Now You Don't, Invisible Girl.
Which is kind of dumb. Oh,
And
great, she
Ben
can turn
Grimm
invisible.
into a mighty muscled powerhouse called The Thing. Now together with Herbie the Robot, the newest member of the group, they have become the greatest team of superheroes the world has
Where's her
ever
brother?
known.
Where's Susan's brother, Johnny Storm? Doesn't exist in this version.
Fantastic Four.
And that voice might sound familiar. Who did the voiceover? That's Dick Tufeld, who was the voice of the robot in Lost in Space. Warning, warning, Will Robinson. Danger, danger.
Well, first of all, I have to note in both of those, they call her Sue Richards. She was Sue Storm.
She married Reed down the line.
Down the line.
And Submariner fought for her affections. There was a
Yeah,
love
it was a
triangle.
weird
Was Sue
love
going to
triangle.
pick the guy from the sea, Prince Namer?
Why do you have to say it like that?
It's just a joke. I don't know.
I
No
like
reason.
He's
Because Prince had just, I think Purple Rain, and I don't know.
He's Prince of Atlantis.
Yeah.
Show some respect.
All right.
You know. But okay, now I was thinking about like earlier on the drive here with okay, I won't prompt Chance. Chance, what was the catchphrase that the Human Torch said before he burst into flames?
Flame on!
Correct. What did the Thing say right before he smashed something?
It's clobbering time!
Why didn't like Sue Storm or Reed Richards get a tagline like, I'm elongating.
It's stretchy time!
It's stretchy metchy time, or I'm turning invisible.
To defend Sue Storm and the Invisible Girl, who later became the Invisible Woman in the 80s, thanks to John Byrne. Anyway, she later could create force fields because the people wrote and said, well, all she does is turn invisible. What good is that? She can hide. Big deal. So then they evolved her character early on to be able to create force fields and protect the group from a rocket or whatever dangers in their way.
Yeah, so it was like a sort of like invisible bubble.
Yeah.
But
that she could expand.
Now, you have to agree that, like, Mr. Fantastic and his power was certainly very derivative of Plastic Man.
Sure.
I don't know how they got away with that one. It's like, not get sued. Like, here's this character. He has the same exact power, but we'll just change his name to Mr. Fantastic, and we'll leave it up to the lawyers to figure that out.
Well, speaking of that, do we want to talk about the character of mine that I created that Marvel published? Or should we continue on? Well, let's continue on with the evolution of comic books in television. All right, so in the 70s, after the 50s, Superman, The Adventures of Superman with George Reeves, you had a big hit. You had two superheroes hit the big screen for Marvel in live action, Spider-Man in 1977 and The Incredible Hulk in 1977, both on CBS television. And I'll play a little bit of that. Here is the funky, Amazing Spider-Man theme from 1977. Okay, well, as I set this up, this Amazing Spider-Man theme, it began as a TV movie on September 14th, 1977, and then became a series April 5th, 1978, lasting 2 seasons. However, only 14 episodes were produced. It was expensive, and they couldn't show, because they didn't have the technologies you mentioned previously, they couldn't really show the action.
Now, time frame-wise.
Nicholas Hammond played Peter Parker in Spider-Man, who was a kid in Sound of Music.
Time frame-wise, you had, there was Linda Carter, Wonder Woman.
Oh, boy, yes, indeed.
There was Lou Ferrigno, the Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
There was this Spider-Man show that Chance is talking about. But there was also this, like, Captain America where he, like, had a motorcycle and his shield.
It sucked. It didn't make it. And it was Doctor Strange, too.
That briefly. I don't remember seeing. So, like,
it was just a movie.
Now, like, which came first? Like, Lou Ferrigno, Hulk?
No, I just said Spider-Man first, and then... actually, Linda Carter was 75. No, it was Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, that hit the scenes in 1975.
Well, and since it appears that my older brother is listening, I was just too young to get it. And he was like, hey, man...
I mean, because your loins hadn't developed yet.
Sure.
To be crude.
We could put it that way.
Yeah.
Some older brother be like, hey, man, let's watch Wonder Woman. And I was like, dude, like, Wonder Woman's lame, man. Like, what? Like, why are we watching this? This is stupid.
You'll find out in a couple years.
Well, I don't think you want to, like, out himself in front of my parents. I guess he was just like, I just really like Wonder Woman. Shut up, little brother. Kick you across the room. And I'm like, well, okay, dude, this is like really lame. I guess I'm just going to read my comic books while you're watching this stupid Wonder Woman show. But I did get it later on. I was like, oh, I get it now.
Right. Now here's the Spider-Man opening. Listen to this. Sounds like a XXX movie.
It's weird goggles. Spider-Man, in a porno, Spider-Man. He's crawling up.
Sounds like the White Shadow thing.
Yeah, it's the 70s, man.
Listen to this, saxophone.
Now, I will say, Chance, that they did do where he had the wrist webbing things, but they were on the outside of his costume, so it was kind of lame.
So, There was like a lady Lois Lane type in this show, right? Played by Ellen Bry. And she was a fellow reporter at the Daily Bugle, not the Daily Planet. But this woman, Ellen Bry, the actor who had a lead role, she was the stunt woman for Margot Kidder in Superman the movie. Isn't that strange? Anyway.
And you said the guy that played Spider-Man was in...
He was in The Sound of Music, Nicholas Hammond. He was one of the Von Trapp kids. Von Trapp.
Well, I know. There was only 3 of them, though. Which
no,
one?
there was more. There was
well, no,
Brigitte.
like boys.
There was...
there's 3 boys.
Crispin Glover. I think he was one. All right, so we're going to segue a little bit into another topic in a minute, but because we're nerds. We've taken over Fistful of Radio until 5 o'clock. And don't worry, the Nostalgic Podblast will be back next week with an all-new show about the Three Stooges, which we're going to do live
Not
tomorrow.
if I have anything to say about it. Death to Nostalgic Podblast.
Well, this is really
It's
gone
Radio
so smoothly.
Zero.
So let's segue this way. All right, you did bring a lunchbox, and I really like it.
Are you sure nobody is calling in?
I haven't been watching. I don't know.
I know.
I need to watch the monitor.
Callers, man.
Let me go check.
It's supposed to be like live radio.
Well, we're talking about comic books.
I know, but it's supposed to be like where we can interact with our listeners.
Okay, Jeff Logan commented, the Human Torch, back, we're talking about Herbie replacing him,
Right.
Was under license by Universal. So that's why they created Herbie. But also it was because of the danger of fires. I read that.
So, I'm sure, right.
So let's see what other comments. Joe Bartlett, Chance is an expert on cartoons. Thank you, Joe. Brian Rhoda, YouTube Live is choppy. Well, this is Facebook Live. Can barely hear
Brian, that's Milo. Hey, Milo.
Oh, of course. Everdry J. By the way, we're in the Everdry Waterproofing Studios, fistfulofradio.com headquarters. Jason Roberts says, Batman in the 60s. Absolutely. And I before Wonder Woman, how could that have slipped my mind? Jeez
West.
Louise. Adam West and Burt Ward, who apparently were having a sexathon. It's widely reported in Burt Ward's book, My Life in Tights. He was bragging on the fact that Adam West and they had some rockin' trailers, groupies, when it became such a
sure they
fad.
did.
It debuted in January 1966. It just had the 55th anniversary of Batman, by the way. Just the other night on ABC television, and it would air twice a week because you had a cliffhanger. It would air on Tuesday and Wednesday night, and it was great. What was it? Come back next time, same bat time, same bat channel. Yeah. And when we were kids, I was like maybe 12, because we met because both our parents are retired school teachers, and they taught down the hall at Soap Creek Elementary in East Cobb County. And our moms were like, oh, my son likes comics. Well, mine does too. They should meet. That's how we met. But I remember back in the day about Batman, you kept saying, this show was a comedy, Chance. You know that. And I said, no, it was serious. They had cliffhangers. They almost die every week. I mean, an alligator almost tore Batman apart last time.
Well, it was a parody.
It was satire, and it was tongue-in-cheek for the parents.
Yeah.
And it did have sex appeal. Joan Collins was on it as the siren. You had a lot of lovely actresses and Jill St. John. You had
see now, I might not have got like Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, but I got Batgirl. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was like the black leather or something like that. But like,
oh, how about Catwoman? I mean, Julie Newmar, like you said, she was just so sexy. And she got replaced. Eartha Kitt played her in season 3. Yep. And in the movie, there was a Batman movie in between season 1 and 2 called Batman the Movie. And you had a different Catwoman, one time only, Leanne Merriweather, who was a Miss America. Huh?
They had like the helicopter?
They had the helicopter introduced in that movie. Very good.
Yeah.
And, Batman's trying to get rid of that exploding bomb on the pier, that silly scene. Anyway, but you had all the major villains in it. You had Catwoman, the Riddler, the Joker, and the Penguin, played by Burgess Meredith. But, yeah, that was a tremendous hit, but it only lasted 3 seasons. Like fads, they come and go. And I remember there was a Life magazine cover with Batman on the front, and it was a real hot seller, real good pop culture issue of Life magazine is the Batman cover.
Now, who was your favorite Batman villain in the TV show?
Oh, it's got to be the Joker.
Really?
But I like Mr. Freeze also. Mr. Freeze played by 3 different actors. Yeah. Tell me Catwoman?
No.
Because she was sexy?
No.
Who?
I mean, like Burgess Meredith is the Penguin, man.
Oh, he was annoying as shit. I
know, but he was cool, dude. And I mean, the Riddler. I have to give it up for the Riddler. I mean, dude, the guy that played the Joker, like he had his white makeup over his mustache.
Cesar Romero, he wouldn't shave his mustache, so they just used thick white makeup to cover it up. Not so well.
Not so well. Yeah, I mean, okay. If you look at all of the movie representations of the Joker, where would you fit him into that?
At the very bottom.
At the very bottom.
I like Jack Nicholson's Joker. Why did they get a load of me?
If Jack Nicholson had been
Get those wonderful toys.
if he had been able to play the Joker 25 years before, he would have been the best Joker ever. He was a little bit too old to play that part at that time, and he still did a great job. He was just too old to play that part.
Now, what'd you think of Batgirl, who came along in season 3 on her little motorcycle? Yvonne Craig, who passed away a couple of years ago, played her. It was kind of cool when you were a kid because you didn't know if Batgirl was going to be in it, especially if the station was airing them out of order, which they shouldn't because they're cliffhanger endings in the first couple of years.
Well, but you'd see a little motorcycle in the beginning, and they changed the intro just a little bit.
And she would swing in and kick a bad guy, and it said Bong, B-O-N-G. Let's see. I'm going to play a little bit of the theme. Batman. Here we go. There's probably a friggin' commercial. There is. Let me mute this. I'm not going to give them a free plug. EverDry waterproofing gets all the action around here. Here we go. Oh, shit. God bless America. It's coming up.
Chance has been having
live radio,
technical
folks.
difficulties all day long. We got a late start.
Well, we couldn't connect my laptop to do sound. Thank goodness Stefan, who's the master of Fistful of Radio, helped me out with that. That's why we delayed late. Here we go. Here's the theme. Wait for it. Here comes Batgirl. Bong. Really catchy.
I just like when she comes by on her motorcycle in the end. I think they show her one more time here.
They do. And she swings, like you said, she comes in her motorcycle towards the end. Here she comes.
Yeah.
Now, Danny, I gave you a homework assignment, jumping ahead here
to
Disney Plus. There's a new show that debuted. This is the first new live-action Marvel since Spider-Man Away From Home. It's 18 months, and it's WandaVision. And this is cool, guys. If you have Disney Plus out there, this is really neat. It debuted. There's 2 episodes that debuted on Friday, January the 15th. And it's really, really well done. And who Vision is, he's an android, okay? He's a robot. And then there's Wanda, who is a witch. So that she's human, but she's a witch, and he's an android, okay? And he can look totally normal, or he can look completely alien, meaning like he's got a red face and red, green, and yellow. But my question is he basically like a vibrator to her? He's a robot. He's an android. She's having sex with this thing, this creature. No one ever really addresses that. They kind of did in the new show in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way. Not that gross, like they didn't imply he's a sex toy, but can they have children? Can they reproduce? That's what they covered.
I think...
and I'm not going to give anything away about the new show. Sorry.
I think robot might take our listeners in a different vein. I think he was more like a synthetic...
He's an android, and he's synthetic human.
Like a synthetic human.
With a British accent.
Yeah. So, I don't know, robot, he's not, made out of metal, where he's got, different attachments, where
literally.
I can brew your coffee. I can vacuum your rug. He was like a synthetic human that was, at least in the MCU, was designed by Tony Stark and Bruce Banner.
Tony Stark is Iron Man, for the layman out there that doesn't know.
Yeah. And Bruce Banner.
Played by Robert Downey Jr. in the movies.
And Bruce Banner, who is the Hulk. So, brilliant scientists. They were like, yes, we shall be mad scientists. And they created this synthetic android of the Vision.
Ultron did in the movies. In the movies.
I thought they made him as they're sort of
Ultron created him.
Rebuttal to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was never too much up on the Avengers that had the Vision. His first appearance in Avengers number 57. If you can find that comic book, I urge you.
I have it, 1968.
I urge you
released.
to get it. It's got a great cover too.
The whole division, it says on the front.
Yeah,
Google it. Anyone at fistfulradio.com. If you got a second, Google Avengers issue 57. It's a great cover.
So I know, like on the outset here, like chances, like he was talking.
Actually,
about,
screw Google. Go ahead.
Scroogle.
Scroogle. Search it on Bing. Well, they're bad too.
Whatever.
Yahoo. Well, they suck as well. Go ahead. Just search it.
So Chance was talking about like collecting comics is a way that can make you money, and we referenced out there GoCollect.com where you can look up any graded comic
and
book.
see that what they actually sold for, real money.
And we sort of petered off there.
You just enter in a comic book. If you find one, go to GoCollect.com and you can search and see what it's selling for, or eBay. Go to eBay and search completed items, sold items.
Right.
Select sold, refine your search, and you'll see the money we're talking about.
When Chance is talking about having comic books graded, there's currently 3 main grading companies. There's others, but there's 3 main ones. There is CGC. There is CBCS.
What do these stand for? Do you know?
CGC is certified grading company, I believe.
There you go. Out of Florida is where they're based, and they have maximum security. They won't let you in there to take pictures. They have guards. I mean, there's millions and millions of dollars in this place.
Yeah.
People from all over the world mail their books to be graded by this company. But I don't like what they do. This company makes you guess what you think, which is the leading company of the 3. The most respected and world-renowned, but they make you guess. Explain that. This is the biggest crock of crap what they do.
Now, there are benefits and drawbacks to all 3 companies. Now, what Chance is referring to, one, for CGC, you have to buy a membership, which is $250.
And I didn't know that.
Now,
this is news to me. What the
they will deduct that from the price of your getting books graded somewhat, but it kind of locks you in. Now, a couple things I don't like. One, they don't do signature verification. So what this means is if, God rest his soul, if you had Stan Lee sign a comic book, which increases the value, if a representative of CGC did not witness that, they look at that as damage. Like if some kid wrote Billy across the cover. So if they didn't have a witness to the signature, it gets what they call a qualified grade, which is retarded.
Oh, don't say that word.
It's stupid.
You already did.
Dumb.
Right.
Retarded. So you said worse things, Chance. So PGX actually, they do in-house signature verification, just like anybody. If you show up with a baseball that says Babe Ruth on it, nobody can witness Babe Ruth sign that baseball. But there's
handwriting experts can what's the word?
Authenticate it.
Authenticate it. Very good.
Yeah. So, there's people that study these signatures and can go, yes, this is a real Babe Ruth signature, or it is not. Because certainly in that, it could mean the difference of like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So PGX has in-house signature verification. And
how much does that run? Oh, look what you brought. Let me shut the hell up.
So this is the first full appearance of Wolverine. Out of 10, this is graded a 7.5. So it's very good condition. And there's a signature right here, Len Wein, who's one of the creators.
He's the writer.
And it says, Len Wein signature. Okay? And this gets a PGX signature.
And he's dead, by the way.
Yeah, he died 2 years ago, September.
2 or 3 years ago.
3 years ago, September. But if I pulled this out and I sent this into CGC, it would get a qualified label. They would look at that as damage. To be like, yes, there'd be a note that says writing on cover. So that kind of screws you. Now, the other thing I don't really like about CGC.
But back up. That comic look at the condition, 7.5 out of 10. 9.8 is the highest grade I've ever seen on a graded comic book. That book is just going up in value. That's the other thing I didn't mention. These books never really go down in value. Some get hotter than others, but because these movies, anytime there's a new Marvel movie announced, a comic that was worth $1 suddenly is worth $100 and up. Like Rocket Raccoon, who was a character in Guardians of the Galaxy, similar to the Beatles song, right?
Yeah.
from 1968 on the White Album.
Well,
but there was a character, Rocket Raccoon, and Bradley Cooper voices him in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and in the Avengers Endgame. And anyway, but my point is that was a nothing character. But because he's in a movie, now everybody wants his first appearance in a comic book. He was in a magazine first, but he was in Incredible Hulk issue 271 from 1982 that I bought off the rack when I was 11 years old at Stop and Go.
Well, and
convenience store.
Well, and Wolverine not only is not going anywhere,
but Wolverine. No, I'm sorry, I derailed you. This book is worth thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and it will only go up.
Yeah.
And it used to be worth maybe $20. I'm talking, back in the 80s. But Hulk 181 from 1974, the first. And look at his little Wolverine sissy costume. It's like yellow, the color of a coward, and he looks like a cat. Meow. But he's a badass character, The Hugh Jackman played him in the movie starting in the year 2000. In the year 2000. But that's a great book to have. He really appeared in the last page of issue 180. Like as a cliffhanger. He's like, his claws are out. Yep. Look out. And there's a character, Wendigo, who's like a snowman or a what would you call Wendigo?
Well, he's actually a spirit of somebody who commits the act of cannibalism.
Oh, shoot. By the way, I forgot to spray Lysol in here. Mike Brooks was in here yesterday, and he had COVID. He did like a couple months ago. I'm just teasing, Mike. We love you. You know that. But I am going to spray some Lysol. Jeez.
So
my mouth just hit the mic. Yeah, so that's the first appearance of Wolverine. 181 is what it's credited as being because he's in the whole thing. He's not just on the last page. Like in
and Chance was talking about, grading and stuff like that. Like, I know our radio listeners can't appreciate this, but this is actually the first appearance of Hellboy. This is graded a 9.6. So this is like practically perfect in every.
And Hellboy's played by that Joker who played in Beauty and the Beast, Ron Perlman. I believe.
And it's been redone recently. So Chance keeps derailing me.
We got 1 hour left, so
Chance keeps derailing me. So there's
you're talking about the first Wolverine. You're talking about authentication and what they do at the grading company.
So one thing I don't like about PGX is they charge you a percentage of the value. Because to me, it's like if you're providing a service and
that's bullcrap,
and you're doing whatever you do, you're flipping through every page, you're looking at the cover, you're examining it for restoration, for damage, and you're grading it. It shouldn't matter whether the book came out last week, last month, 2 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago. The service and the process that you're doing is exactly the same. But what CGC does is they charge you a percentage of what the final value of the book is, which to me sort of seems like cross purposes, where it's like, wouldn't it be in your best interest to grade the book higher to go, yeah, no, this is worth $10,000 because our cut's bigger. And, the reputation is so stellar. I'm not implying that that's what's happening. I just think it's kind of crappy. Now,
well, it's the American way to make money, I guess. I mean, it's just I don't like that policy.
CBCS is...
you can go somewhere else.
I want to say that there was a company there was a gentleman that worked for CGC that left, not on bad terms, but just left to go start his own company, CBCS. And I brought two of these. This is like early Iron Man, back when he had his gold armor.
It was gray initially for one issue. And
it was gray for one
Tales
issue.
of Suspense issue 39 was the first appearance of Iron Man in 1962.
And as you can see, these are graded a 4.0. So, it's just a little bit below the middle.
What's your expression that I like?
Which one?
Like a 0 grade is better than no grade.
Oh, actually.
Like meaning I'd rather have the book than not.
I actually got that from there's a YouTube channel, We Love Comics, hosted by this gentleman named Chris that I love because it is full of information on how to collect comics, on how to look for deals, how to sort of cursory grade comics. And I've been watching this for years and years. And the We Love Comics channel is just great. And that's actually his catchphrase, where he's like, low grade is better than no grade.
That's it.
Because, as Chance said, these old comics they're going to continue to appreciate. So
and movies are going to keep being released. Disney Plus is going to keep streaming new shows, new content. And a tip for you guys: buy any first appearance of a female character because because of identity politics and stuff, and for whatever reason, Disney is pushing, and Marvel, the new Marvel's pushing female characters. They're going to make Thor a female. Yeah. Jane Foster, his love interest, played by Natalie Portman, is going to be Thor temporarily. Anyone who holds the hammer assumes the power of Thor.
Love and Thunder. So, okay, like, if I was holding out to have thousands of dollars to buy this comic book in a 9.0, I wouldn't have it. But I was able to get this for under $200, which, I mean, it's not cheap, but it was affordable. Now, this is going to continue to appreciate. Now, what you'll find out is as comics continue to appreciate and continue to rise in value, there's less and less people that can shell out $8,000, $9,000, $12,000 for a comic book. So sometimes some of the lower grades, those 3.5s to 4.5s to 5.5s, those are, you can flip them easier because I spent less than $200 on this, but also they cast the new Iron Man because, I mean, you know, Robert Downey Jr. is not going to play him anymore, but the character of Iron Man is not.
He's dead.
He's not going, well.
The character's dead.
But they're starting to get into like alternate.
But anyone realms. But the costume still lives, right?
Right. I mean, the character's immortal. They'll find a way to do it. It's comic books. So they go into a different reality, a different dimension, back in time or whatever, and they cast the new Iron Man, and interest in Iron Man continues to rise or whatever. They're making cartoons. And people that are young now and they're watching Iron Man in a cartoon, it all leads back to the comics. So this will appreciate. So if it's 5-10 years from now, and I could take this comic book that I spent $200 on, and I can sell it for $600-$700, that's a win-win for me. And I've done that. I have books coming back from PGX that are getting graded, and the entire proceeds to have them graded, I got from selling duplicate issues, like lower copy grades of ones I have other copies of. And I very quickly generated almost $3,000 in about 4 weeks. So all of you people back in high school, they were like, hey man, you're like this grown man. This is grown dude. Why are you going to these comic book shows with Chance and stuff? What's up with you guys? Well, that's why, because now I'm getting them graded and some of these books are now worth multiple thousands of dollars. So that's why.
Now, and I've got my collection at home. I've got security. I buy a weapon. I have motion detection because I got robbed. I startled a robber a couple years ago. I think it was in 2019. Yes, it was. I went to work and something told me, I saw this guy in the neighborhood posing to be a worker. Okay. And just something didn't set right because most of the people in our neighborhood association, they usually have Hispanic workers, right? And this guy didn't fit that bill. I just had a bad feeling about this. So I go home for lunch and this son of a gun is robbing me. And I startled him and I'm lucky I didn't get shot and he just escaped out of one of the windows, but he grabbed one of my graded comics. And not only that, but he ate a gosh darn burrito I had in my refrigerator.
Didn't you say he had a suitcase full?
He had my own suitcase full of books, and he obviously didn't know anything about comics. He had some that were worth nothing and some that were worth thousands. And luckily, he bolted and didn't challenge me. The only thing he got away with was one graded book that I got back because I was smart, and I called comic shops and said, have you seen Fantastic Four issue 7? And an honest dealer, Book Nook in Decatur, called me back and said, Chance, your book is here. And so I went and recovered my property. But this son of a bitch was wearing my Rockport shoes, okay, when he left. So he left his crappy, Air Jordans behind and left in a new pair of Rockport shoes. And I got to give a shout-out to Brett Barney, who was an on-air talent at 106.7 WYY. He actually, out of the goodness of his heart, he gave me a pair of Rockports when he heard this story that were his dad's shortly after his dad passed away. Is that not cool?
That's cool.
I mean, that's really, really cool. But anyway, I recovered that comic, and it could have been so much worse. I would have been devastated, this guy. Yeah. But he also took a dump in my toilet and didn't flush. Now, my toilets have a button on top, so maybe he couldn't figure it out, but it was disgusting. So I called the police. They dust for prints, and I'm like, there's some DNA in the toilet if you want to Get that. And they said, no,
That was
we're
the-
good.
what-
We're good.
that was
So they
like-
dusted for prints, and the guy, to my knowledge, has never been caught. But, man, it could have been so much worse. I'm glad my instincts, or spidey sense, as it were, told me, go home. Something's not right. And that son of a bitch was just having a little private party, eating my burrito that I had from Moe's.
So do you think he
Took a
ate,
dump in my toilet.
so do you think he ate the burrito and then pooped, or did he? Poop?
That's usually how it works with dogs anyway. They eat and then they have to go take a crap.
So he ate the burrito, took a poo.
Just made himself at home, took his shoes off, kicked back on the
put on
couch, right in front of my hide-to-bed sofa were his crummy shoes.
You know,
It actually
dude-
looked like nice shoes.
You know, it's like the Three Bears. You know, it's like
It could have been a hell of a lot
somebody's sleeping in my bed, and he's still there.
Yeah.
And wearing my rock.
place
porch.
was ransacked, but he didn't get anything, thank God, except for that comic I recovered. Now, so did you watch the WandaVision? Did you do your homework assignment? Be honest.
You didn't give me a homework assignment.
I did too. I said, watch WandaVision. We're going to review it. It's in a text. It was like 3 days ago. It's plenty of time. It dropped Friday.
No,
I'll be brief.
We're gonna go back and look here.
No, all right. Well, you look while I explain it without giving anything away. The cool thing about WandaVision, it's not like a superhero geeky thing. It's like a 50s sitcom. Vision died. This is a spoiler if you haven't seen Avengers. What's the one before Endgame? Avengers
Okay.
Infinity
I
Stones.
got this. I'm up early to watch WandaVision. Give me
There's the
this.
studio address where
Yeah.
we're at now.
Pulling clips.
Oh, it's before that. It's before that. It was days ago. It's before that.
before you
That was my
watch-
hint to watch WandaVision so we could review it together on Disney Plus. All right. Well, anyway, so Vision died in the second to last Avengers movie when Thanos took an Infinity Stone out of his head. He's an android, and that's like the source of his power, and he was destroyed. And Wanda was devastated. You took everything from me.
Yeah.
So what the show is, you don't know if it's a fantasy or reality, and it basically starts as like a 1950s or 60s sitcom in black and white with a laugh track. It's like a comedy. And you don't know, it's like, what the hell is this? And it's Vision and the Scarlet Witch, where they're moving into their house into a new neighborhood, just married, yet they have no wedding rings. So they're confused as well. And they're celebrating an
It
anniversary.
looks sort of confusing. So I mean,
But it's a mystery. And I just want to say, the beginning of the second episode, not giving anything away, Wanda is a witch. So they make like kind of a Bewitched reference where she's moving dishes around and conjuring up dinner. And they did a sequence.
does her nose do that little ding, ding,
The
ding,
twitch.
ding?
Nope. No.
man.
But and there's
That's
a cool.
That's probably under copyright.
If you like classic TV like I do, yes, obviously we're geeks. We've taken over until 5 o'clock, Fistful of Radio. But there's a sequence where they did a tribute to the Bewitched opening credit sequence, where she's on the broomstick and the animated thing. It was
cool.
really entertaining. And check it out. And you don't need to know anything about the comic books or the Marvel Universe. I mean, it's its own entity. And it's streaming on Disney Plus. So I guess, and it also reminds me, because it's in black and white, it reminds me of a movie. You ever see a movie, what was that movie called? I wrote it down. Pleasantville. It was from like the late 90s, one of the last movies Don Knotts did. Tobey Maguire was in it, Reese Witherspoon, and it's in black and white. And then,
yeah,
Anyway.
I remember seeing it, but
well, the point is, it's like that where it's black and white, but then you see little bits of things in color, like they did in Pleasantville. That's all I had to say about
okay.
that.
That's
It's
cool.
like they did a tribute to Pleasantville a little bit.
Since you mentioned Pleasantville, I want to bring up the TV show Smallville.
Okay. Tom Welling is Clark Kent and Superman.
The actor that played Lex Luthor in that,
Rosenberg or
he
something.
totally crushed that.
He
I
did.
mean, he was, and I have to say, I mean, my wife and I, we watched all the seasons, but when he left the show, it was just never the same. And they sort of alluded to Lex is out there somewhere, and we kept thinking, okay, cool, they're going to bring him back. Maybe he's on a some sort of hiatus or something. And the show was just never the same. The dynamic.
As Lex's dad or Lex himself, the bald.
Lex, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, not his dad.
Because his dad was a character too.
Yeah.
Oh, how about Allison Mack is in the cast? She's in a lot of trouble. She had a sex slave ring. Allison Mack, she played Clark's friend in school, the little blonde, she had short blonde hair. Look
Yeah.
it up. Allison Mack. She's
Wow.
she's in a lot of trouble. And who knew, right? She just seems like an innocent little girl on camera. I mean, young woman. And she was running a sex trafficking ring. Allegedly. And she was in the cast of Smallville. And then one last thing about WandaVision, who plays Wanda is one of the
Olsen.
sisters of the Olsen twins.
Yeah.
and she plays Wanda the Witch. So I recommend it, but I'm biased because I'm a freaking geek. Now, can we talk a little bit about, I'll just play a little bit of a trailer here of Superman, the movie. Again, talking about comic books from the page to your TV to the silver screen. We're jumping all over the place here, folks. We are. What I think is neat about this trailer is it plays a little bit of music from Planet of the Apes, 1968. And where the hell is it? Here we go. It was released December 15th, 1978. And in the beginning, and it's a Warner Brothers movie, which is weird as they play music at the start of this trailer from Planet of the Apes, which was a 20th Century Fox movie. Let's play a little bit of this. Here we go.
The Fortress of
Marlon
Solitude.
Brando.
Friends, I'm not given to wild, unsupported statements.
That's Planet of the Apes.
And I tell you that we must evacuate this planet immediately.
That background music.
Jor-El, be reasonable.
Now that's John Williams' music, new for that movie. Listen.
Once there was a civilization, much like ours, but with a greater intelligence, greater powers, and a greater capacity for good.
So what's happening, fistfulofradio.com listeners, is they're showing Krypton blowing up. You've probably seen the movie, or your kids have.
They're putting Clark into the spaceship.
In the spaceship with his costume.
Yeah.
Now, it makes me wonder, while he's in space, how's he taking a poop and eating and, he's like 5 years old when he lands on Earth. What the hell happened in between? And the planet's blowing up.
Yep.
In one tragic moment, that world was destroyed. But there was one survivor.
We know who that is.
Kal-El. That's his Kryptonian name.
Yeah.
K-A-L. And there's Glenn Ford, who, by the way, had a young, gorgeous wife at the time. You think he's like some old square with...
Because of the wisdom and compassion of Jor-El.
I'm going to sound like an ageist.
The human race had the capacity for goodness. He sent us his only son.
And you see him naked, which is weird. It shows
His name
the
is
kid
Kal-El.
naked.
He will call himself Clark Kent. But the world will know him as Superman.
I love that voice artist, that voice talent narrating it.
This year, Superman brings you the gift of flight. Superman, the movie.
Written by Mario Puzo, The Godfather. Anyway, so there's that, and it was
Now,
a
wait, hold
big,
on.
tremendous hit for weeks and weeks. #1 back then. Go
Now,
ahead.
I mean, didn't it come out like at the holiday season?
December 15th, 78.
Because
Yeah.
I remember going to see it. Now, here's something I read recently.
And of course, Christopher Reeve was paralyzed in 1995, and I met him in '94. I have his signature before that tragic event where he was riding a horse and he didn't get his hands up. He was thrown from the horse and neck first into the ground. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And then his wife died of lung cancer shortly after. Not to be morbid, I'm just giving some history here. Dana Reeve.
Wait.
His son's alive and in the media.
I was like, wife died.
Terrible.
Thrown from a horse. Last chick starting a sex ring. It's like, dude, you always bring up the most horrible
There's a
shit.
Chris Rock joke when he
You
was still
bring up
alive.
the most horrible
He's like,
shit.
Superman can't walk. What's up with that? What's next? Aquaman gonna drown in a tub?
Probably.
Sorry, I screamed into the mic.
Oh, man.
He was a nice guy. I met him, and I got in the AJC, Atlanta Journal-Constitution newspaper.
And there's the dude.
My quote.
There's the dude that pooped in your toilet. I mean, it's like, God, Chance, like, man, you gotta lighten it up, man.
Trying to keep it real.
Well, okay. So what I was gonna bring up,
His vision of vibrator. That's another good one I said, I guess. No.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I thought this was interesting. Is that the original creators of Superman, their use of the suffix L.
Kal-El, Jor-El.
Right.
I don't know this. This is cool.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's not as cool as like poop in a toilet or like vibrating androids or like sex rings, but it's comic book history. The suffix of that EL, it goes back to like Jewish theology tradition.
In the Torah, their Bible.
All right. Because, hey, Chance, you go to church. I don't, but Chance does. So look at the name of your angels. Mike L. Rafi L. Samael. I mean, so all like, and there's others, man, but like all of it, like these like angels and Judeo-Christian tradition have this suffix of like EL on the end. And there was a show that Chance had me listen to, and somebody was actually talking about it, where the Superman character is very Christ-like in a way, which is not to compare a superhero to.
Oh yeah, he was an analogy for Christ.
Where here's this being from beyond, who comes to Earth, and he has all of these incredible powers and stuff. And even Chance, like, where he's commenting on like, the little baby in the spaceship, and he's like,
Jor-El sent his only son, Christ,
sent his only son, to be like the savior of mankind. I mean, this is not to step on anybody's like religion or whatever, but there is a parallel there, and certainly people have written about it that are much more experts on the subject than I am. But I always thought that was like really cool with like the suffix L, because like I just didn't know that. But
I never made that connection, Danny. I knew about the biblical analogy, of course. And by the way, they shot 1 and 2 at the same time. Richard Donner, who directed The Omen before that, and of course the Lethal Weapon movies and Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson. He directed 1 and 2, and he got fired by the producers because he was spending so much money and time getting it right. And so they actually used a lot of his footage, but they edited Superman 2 in a way where he wouldn't get a director credit. And they reshot scenes with Richard Lester, who had directed A Hard Day's Night, the Beatles movie, and The Three Musketeers and Four Musketeers. Anyway, I digress. But Marlon Brando was paid over $1 million back in 1977 to do 14 days of work at Pinewood Studios, England, for 1 and 2. And when 1 was a hit, this is interesting.
Lunchbox.
Oh, yeah. Lunchbox. When 1 was a hit, Brando demanded more money to use his scenes in the sequel. So in Superman 2, if anyone who's seen that, Superman loses his powers so he can make love with Lois Lane. Otherwise, he'd probably kill her, right? So he's got to lose his powers.
Why would he kill her, Chance?
Because of super dick, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, no, I'm serious. So Brando was cut out of Superman 2. Originally, it was he who takes his powers away, and it's he who restores his powers. So when you saw the theatrical Superman 2 on HBO, it doesn't explain how he got his powers back in the theatrical cut. He just finds the green crystal in the Fortress of Solitude. Then the next scene, he's flying to the Daily Planet to challenge General Zod. General, would you care to step outside? Doesn't explain what happened in between. Well, they released on DVD, finally, after Brando died, the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, where they restored. There were wonderful scenes between Chris Reeve and Marlon Brando, the only scenes they shot together that were stuck in a vault since 1977 because of a pay dispute. Well, it's really good stuff. It makes the movie better. So anyway, yeah, there's some crazy stuff. Like at the end of Superman the movie, he turns back time. It's talk about stretching your disbelief. But I still think it holds up, even though it's dated with 70s bell bottoms and payphones and all that sort of stuff. But I love the music by John Williams.
And that's a topic that Chance and I have talked about. Oh, yeah.
And Danny got me this lunchbox. And
original, like the thermos is in there. It's like 1976 or something.
And anyone, 78. And anyone out there who listens to the Nostalgic Podblast, our own Tom Williams, who is one of the hosts, along with Al Hardy and I, has one of these in his house too. So, Danny, I appreciate that. Yeah, and I'll give you your scratch after the show.
Well, and it's kind of cool because they did such a good job actually rendering, like that looks like the actors and stuff.
Yep.
That certainly looks just like Christopher Reeves. That's him as a kid lifting up the truck, the backhoe.
Yeah, and so your point, another reason we want to bring this was to point out the merchandising aspect of these movies, the popularity of the superhero movies going back to 1978 and today. And one thing that irritates the heck out of me, we touched on this earlier in the show, anyone who's listening closely, is that Marvel actually took a character I had submitted. And I won't go into too much detail, but they had this contest back in the 80s where they encouraged people to send in submissions.
I knew you were going to work this in.
Of course. Of course.
Every single medium that we can to get this story out, because it is true. Back to what we were saying about great power, great responsibility. Chance, in good faith, created a character, and I'll let him tell the story. And he sent this in, and somebody at Marvel Comics stole this character, has used it in comic books, and now this character is still being merchandised.
And is rumored to be in Deadpool 3 or 4.
And
as a villain.
every time I see some bobblehead or something, I always send it to Chance, and he righteously gets upset. So I will let Chance tell this story.
Well, I don't know how interesting it'll be to anyone out there except me. I want you to read that. This was an ad where Marvel was begging kids to send in ideas and read what was promised to anyone who made a submission back then in 1984.
Okay. So it's telling what you do here, where to send it in and all that stuff, and all your submissions must be postmarked, blah, blah, blah. Which is actually Chance, this will go into like your proof because it's got to be postmarked before March 1st, 1985. Once you've submitted your entry, just sit back and wait. We'll judge each entry and choose a winner in each category. If you're a winner, you'll be given your first professional Marvel Comics assignment. Each creator will receive our standard rates, benefits, and incentives. You'll be treated just like all the other professional creators whose work appears in Marvel Comics. So what are you waiting for? Your future as a Marvel superstar awaits.
That's a contract. And I was really stunned back then when Captain America issue number 307 was released. Okay. Danny's going to go out and have a smoke.
Yeah,
he thinks this is going to be a big monologue. Okay, go ahead.
It is.
Go ahead. So I had submitted a character named Happy, and he was a demented happy face, right? And it was in full color. And what he could do is he could drive people insane by staring at them. That was his power. And so I submitted it to Marvel. And lo and behold, and I'd had a letter printed previous to that. There's a history of me submitting things to Marvel. I thought, yeah, I'm going to be part of the family. I love these characters, and I love this company.
I got to interject here because I'm a witness to all this, man. For real. I mean, and this is all really true. Where Chance goes into like how he created this character. This character was bright yellow, and it was
purple.
But the bright yellow face and stuff, it was based on like at the time like this, like have a nice day, which you can still see. This smiley face, have a nice day. And so Chance is showing this to me. I'm spending the night. I'm sitting on his bed. I'm looking at comics. And he's telling me about this, that he's going to submit this character and stuff. And I'm like, okay, kind of cool. Because I don't think anything is going to happen, from it. I'm just like, sort of, okay, cool, that's cool. And he's showing me this character. And it's like, this bright yellow smiley face. And
you thought it was lame.
I thought it was totally lame. I was like it's not meant because to me at the time, like I was like starting like like heavy metal and like Iron Maiden and stuff like where's his fangs, where's his spikes, like there's nothing menacing about this crazy smiley face character that was drawn very rudimentally with a this like broad triangle mouth and these upturned triangle eyes and stuff. But Chance is my friend and stuff, so like I was gonna burst his bubble. So I was like, yeah, dude, that's kind of cool. And he'll go into this, but he's telling me about his powers, about how here's this smiley character named Happy, and he can drive people insane with his gaze.
Gaze.
What else do you think I was saying?
I don't know. For a listener, they might be confused with what you're saying.
He turns people insane with his
army of gay people.
His army of homosexual people. No. With his gaze, his eyes.
His stare.
Is that a better Chance? With his stare, he drives people insane. And I was like, okay, well, that's kind of cool. Here's this dude. He's just going to get, baby food for his, baby. Or, he's pumping gas, and this dude just like looks at him, and all of a sudden he's like a homicidal maniac, and he's like, butchering the gas station attendant, and like leaving everybody dead in his wake. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. That's kind of dark. So at that point I was like, okay, I can kind of see that, that's kind of an interesting character. And I will say, man, because I am gonna go smoke a cigarette. I am gonna let Chance tell this story.
I'm gonna play some clips while you're doing
it. Dude, I was a witness to this. This is all true. It's like I mean, and we have evidence and eyewitnesses
And
it's
artwork.
I just like, God, man, you know.
Well, what they changed, we haven't even revealed the name of the character, have we? What they did was they put a hat on him, because mine was literally like a demented, happy face, and I drew a full color, full page, full length drawing of him with a synopsis of what he can do, and they named him Madcap, and put a hat on him. That was the only change they made. They put a hat on him and called him Madcap, but it was happy, like a demented, happy face.
And I will say, I told Chance like many years later, it took me to realize actually how, I don't want to say innovative, but how original the idea actually was. Because, I mean, you even look at Marvel Comics now. They mine their own properties, where it's like, okay, there's Spider-Man. Well, okay, there's Spider-Man 2099. Okay, wait, there's Miles Morales Spider-Man. Oh, wait, there's Ultimate Spider-Man. There's Ultra Spider-Man. There's Ultra Spider-Woman. There's, you know, Spider-Gwen. Like, they rip themselves off for lack of, like, creative ideas.
They milk themselves, yeah.
For lack of creative ideas. I
mean, April 85 is when Captain America 307 was released.
And
I just with a July cover date, sorry.
So it's like Chance's idea at a time like where mutants were a big thing, you know, like the new X-Men were taking off. Wolverine was taking off. So you had like the New Mutants. You had the spinoff of like, you know, the buddies of the X-Men, the Alpha Flight. You had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And so there was this huge, you know, derivation off of ideas that were already out there. And here comes Happy. This bright yellow, smiley face that drives people insane. And like I said, it took me till years later to go, wow, man, like what a really clever idea. Because this is not like, you know, a derivative of Batman.
And we showed my mom at the time.
Or Superman.
Yeah.
Okay. Or Spider-Man or a mutant or anything. I mean, it was really an original idea. So I'm going to let Chance take over here for just a minute.
Well, before you go, I was going to say, remember Mom, we showed Mom at the time. She goes, oh, you should be flattered. And I was, but I'm like, well, what's what I was promised? What about that? And it says you'll get a credit and all. And, you know, I would have been happy with just, yeah. And
I mean, dude, they could have bought Chance for a nickel. They could have been like, dude, Stan the Man really likes your idea. Here's the signed Stanley t-shirt made out to you, you know, face for one.
But you got more mad than I did. And today you'll be in a Walmart and there's Madcap on a coffee mug and you'll text me a picture and he gets me all riled up. And the thing is, when I heard the other day they made a Funko Pop, for those who don't know what that is, it's a kind of an ugly toy.
Head.
People love it. No, it's like a little.
It's like a bobblehead.
It doesn't really look like the character. Anyway, they're
like a
wildly
bobblehead.
popular, wildly successful.
Yeah.
But they made one of Madcap. And if Madcap shows up in a movie, I'm going to be mad. But you know what? Hey, Marvel, we can make good on it. Put me in a movie, small role. How about that? I'd be happy with that. I'm not looking for a payday. Just give me the recognition I deserve for creating that character.
Credit.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I mean,
and a share of the profits of the merchandising.
Look,
no,
we're not sitting here going, yeah, man. You know, like, you know, Chance created the Flash, or I mean, like, let's be real. I mean, at this point, it's still a relatively obscure Marvel character,
and I have the artwork that I'm saving.
Like, look, dude. If we're gonna make up some story, I'd go much bigger than Madcap, but it's true, and I think Madcap's gonna get legs.
Jeff Logan knows it too, our buddy, and Scott Holcomb, and probably John David Dyer if he's out there. Remember JD?
Oh yeah, there's dude, Brian Rhoda, who commented earlier.
Oh, I got to look at.
I'm guaranteeing you that somewhere in one of his yearbooks, he's got where I drew this face based on like Chance's artwork. And we changed the name. I won't say it here because we don't want to give away everything. And I know there are people out there that have this face in their yearbooks that predates
the release of that comic book.
This release of this comic book
in April '85.
And so, like, there's evidence. There's eyewitnesses.
And I had a letter printed. This is a point you made that I think is good. A letter printed in an issue Hulk 296 around that time in early '84 that just shows I had a history of mailing Marvel Comics. We'll get to that when you get back. So I'm going to play some clips, and I want to remind folks, I know, you know, Fistful of Radio during the week has more engaging conversation, but I want to remind folks for last-minute ticket sales, our friend Jim Gossett, who was on Friday with Mike Brooks, and he's going to be on next Friday from 11 to 1 on fistfulofradio.com. He's performing tonight at Houck's Grill in Roswell, and there's still some last-minute tickets available if it's not sold out yet. great show, great fun, great food, and a great staff at Houck's Grill. But if you want to laugh your head off about the issues that are facing us here in 2021 and beyond, come on out tonight to Houck's Grill and go to newsmakerline.com to purchase your tickets. And they might allow walk-ups. I don't know how that works. But there is social distancing. It's safe. There'll be people, wearing masks. The servers wear masks. It's completely safe. Don't be afraid. I know that the Patriots out there are never afraid. But it's going to be a good time. Tonight, if you're listening, and if you're listening tomorrow, this is going to replay on Fistful of Radio, Sunday 2 to 5. That'll be after the show. It's Saturday night, January 16th, 2021. And there'll be another show coming up. So check newsmakerline.com for the February dates at Houck's Grill or wherever Jim Gossett is performing. He does impressions. It's a lot of fun. No matter where you are in your life, you'll have a good time. Now, I'm going to play some more audio of some TV comic books that made it to television, like The Incredible Hulk. Here's a little bit of the opening. Now, interesting thing about this opening, the narrator is Ted Cassidy, otherwise known as Lurch, in the Addams Family, the old show. You're right. Here we go. It's a long version of the opening.
Dr.
Rare.
David Banner, physician, scientist, searching for a way to tap into the hidden strengths that all humans have. Then an accidental overdose of gamma radiation interacts with his unique body chemistry. And now when David Banner grows angry or outraged, a startling metamorphosis occurs. Creature is driven by rage and pursued by an investigative reporter.
Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
An accidental explosion took the life of a fellow scientist and supposedly David Banner as well. The reporter thinks the creature was responsible.
I gave a description to all the law enforcement agencies. I got a warrant for murder out of
A murder which David Banner can never prove he or the creature didn't commit. So he must let the world go on thinking that he too is dead, until he can find a way to control the raging spirit that dwells within him.
So that was a big hit show, lasted 5 seasons on CBS, ended in 1982, and then they brought back the Hulk in a series of TV movies for NBC. The Return of the Incredible Hulk returns, 1988. Let's see my liner notes here. Here we go. And Kenneth Johnson wrote and directed that first TV movie back November 4th, 77 is when it aired. And he didn't understand why the Hulk was green. That's just the way he was colored in the comics. And Kenneth Johnson, I've heard him speak. He said, well, shouldn't he be red? Red is the color of rage. Why is he green? Green's the color of envy. And it was just explained, hey, bud, you got to stick with the program. That's the way it was in the comics. He was gray in the first edition, then eventually was green, and that's the way he's always been. But he did go back to being gray briefly in the 80s, but that's another story. So The Incredible Hulk began November 4th, 77, adapted and written by and directed by Kenneth Johnson. First time it aired as a regular series after a second movie, A Death in the Family, which is what that intro was from. That's why it's longer. It was a TV movie, the second one. That aired also in November 77. Then it became a regular 1-hour series starting in March 10th, 1978, ended May 12th, 1982. And then The Incredible Hulk Returns aired May 22nd, 88, after the show was canceled as a 2-hour movie, and they introduced Thor in that, a strange version of Thor, God of Thunder, who we mentioned today. Then Trial of the Incredible Hulk aired May 7th, 1989 on NBC, and then finally The Death of the Incredible Hulk, February 18th, 1990, where they killed him off, and I didn't like how they ended the character. David Banner dies, and there's a tragic line at the end. He's in a helicopter or plane, and it blows up, and the Hulk jumps out of the plane right as it explodes, and he falls and falls and falls, eventually hits the earth, and his love interest comes up and says, David, don't die. We could be free. And he goes, I am free. Do, 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 do. It was sad, like he dies right there. I was hoping for a happy ending where he'd be rid of that creature because he was a successful scientist, his character. But they, oh, by the way, another factoid, they had to change his name from Bruce Banner in the comics to David Banner. The network execs at CBS thought it was too feminine a name, Bruce. So they changed it to David for the TV show, but in the
There's-
movies and in the comics, it's Bruce Banner, Dr. Bruce Banner.
That's network executives for you.
It's Suits. It's friggin' Suits. Now, I guess we can get off of comics for now. I talked about Happy. Do we want to talk about the Angry Girlfriend variant? There was a Newsweek story called The Angry Girlfriend Variant that involves me. This isn't about me. This sounds like I'm making this whole damn thing about me. Al's out there watching, I'm sure, saying, yeah, you are. You're making it about you.
The Wizard. Mr. Wizard.
And I held up a couple things of me getting shot in the head on TV in The Walking Dead as a walker zombie. I did a stunt on that show. For any geeks out there that have tuned in, I'm going to share the hell out of this show when I'm allowed to share things to groups on Facebook. But if you Google or Bing or Yahoo search, whatever your search engine of preference is, look up Angry Girlfriend Variant Newsweek. They did an article about this comic book that was defaced. There was a friend I was with that I upset and angered. I wanted to be more than friends. She didn't want that, and she got irritated. I didn't do anything, just she got irritated with me asking, "Are you dating this guy, Patrick?" And I had given her not given her, but I had lent her this expensive comic as a trust test. Oh, go ahead.
All right. To not make this entirely about you, let me tell the story little bit. All right. Okay. So I know listeners can't see this, but this is a picture of a very expensive comic book. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 14,
which I have brought my other copy.
It is the very first appearance ever of the Green Goblin,
1964.
And if you can see here, you see where this girlfriend that he and
she was a friend, but I wanted more. But that's another story.
His friend that he gave this comic book took a big Sharpie and wrote, "Chance, go to hell." And then there's this thing where it's like, "Turn over," and then on the back, I thought I'd something never be able to destroy something that meant so much to me. As far as I'm concerned, you're dead. And it goes on. In no way am I trying to be noble or whatever. Okay, so where chances, like if you look up Angry Ex-Girlfriend, there is a number of hits. Okay. And this is what got me. There was this Newsweek article. And I think
we have a call coming in. Just a sec.
Oh,
go on.
We have a caller. Well, I want to hear who the caller is.
Oh, man, I keep missing calls.
Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of struggling here without our tech guy, Al.
Hello, you're on the air.
Hello.
Who is this?
Caller.
Hello.
Who is this?
This is 911.
Is this William Shatner?
This is William Shatner.
Oh,
my wife. She's face down in the pool. She's not moving. What should I do?
Have you tried to rescue her, sir? You're Mr. Rescue 911 after all.
Why would I want to do that? That was part of my plan.
How you doing, William? I'm a big fan. You know, it is funny how you didn't even dive in to save your drowning wife. What's that all about?
Well, it's all in my book if you want to read it. Chance, by the way, I think you're doing a great job. My new book is called, it's all about marriage. It's called No More Bubbles and No More Trouble from William Shatner. It's a great book. Did I ever tell you about the happiest day of my life?
No, please do.
I walked down the aisle. I gave her a kiss on the cheek, and then I closed the casket. It was a great day.
I don't blame you, man, because you got cleaned out prior to that. That would be your motivation, I guess, for not saving your drowning wife. $10 million you took a bath on.
Pipeline stock alone, I didn't just lose my ass. I lost Stacey Abrams' ass. It was unbelievable.
That's a big ass.
Luckily for me. You know, I mentioned on the Mike Brooks show that Stacey Abrams is a real overachiever. Do you know this?
No.
She completed a 2-week Nutrisystem plan in just 8 hours. The woman is unbelievable.
She was motivated.
Oh, yeah, she's so fat that when she goes to the movie theater, she sits next to everybody. It's unbelievable.
This is true.
So is that like surround sound?
The woman was, she was baptized at SeaWorld, for God's sake. But Stacey Abrams goes camping. The bears hide their food. I'm William Shatner. It's great. Oh, by the way, I had this great business project. It didn't work out, Chance. You know, everything can't work out in life. I was going to come out with my own line. of women's clothing, and then a friend told me that Shatner Pants wasn't that great of a name.
Oh! That's going to make a mark, that's for sure. Oh, boy.
That's for sure.
Oh,
do you
man.
Know do you know how gay John Ossoff is?
No, how gay is he?
He wants the Supreme Court to pack him. Okay.
Oh! Ooh! Oh, man.
Well, it's great. Yeah, I think you guys are doing a great job. I just wish you'd answer your phone a little more often, but it's great to be on.
Yeah, well, hey, and I want you to go see Jim Gossett tonight at Houck's Grill. Newsmakerline.com is where
Grill.
you... Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to see him at that other place over there, Manuel's Tavern, where the bar flies are actual flies. I would never go to that place.
Yeah. Oh, I heard that was a real shithole.
Oh, yeah, they're begging for money. GoFundMe. I'm going to go give money to a guy that's a lifelong fucking Democrat that doesn't know how to run a business. Give me a break.
Okay, man. Well,
I went in the restroom at the Manuel's Tavern and said employees must wash their hands after they touch the food. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's nasty. I ain't going to eat there, that's for sure.
I know. Well, anyway, this is not William Shatner. This is Jim. I think you guys are having a good time. Glad I could finally get through. I know you're having to run your own board, but I think you're doing great. You should do this every Saturday.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. We had a real rough start, but thanks. I'm glad to know someone's watching and listening. That's awesome. Thank you.
Somebody
and,
I think it's a lot of fun. I think you're doing great.
Thank you very much, and I'm very honored that you called in. Have a great show tonight.
We're gonna have a nice crowd. I think maybe I don't want to make any promises because we've got the social distancing and everything. And you know the best way to social distance from the Kimmer?
How's that? How?
Loan him money. It works. But anyway, it's just a joke. But we might be able to squeeze one or two more people in. Leslie Dove will be there to squeeze them. We're going to turn over the bar stools and have seating for 4 in the back. No, we might have room if you want to come. 8 o'clock, Houck's Grill in Roswell on Holcomb Bridge Road.
So people can just walk up and buy a ticket.
Yeah, I think so, maybe. And don't be mad if they turn you away, but if they turn you away, we'll get you in next time.
And the price is very reasonable, folks. What is it, 20, 15? What?
20.
That's great.
$20.
That's a bargain. That's cheaper than a night at the movies. All right, well, I'm looking forward.
It's less than they charge for Banks and Shame, as a matter of fact.
That's a good one.
And by the way, I just want to warn you, if you get a meme that says Banks and Shane sings Christmas songs, don't click on it, because you know what it is?
What is it?
It's Banks and Shane singing Christmas songs.
Off key.
So you were warned.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right,
Talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. That was not William Shatner. It was Jim Gossett, a good friend of Nostalgic Podblast and Radio Zero. Just a real funny guy. So if you're free and can make it out to Roswell to Houck's Grill.
Houck's Grill.
Tonight.
Great food, great atmosphere, great fun, and a hell of a show.
They have really good steaks, don't they?
Yeah, and they have gorgeous women that are serving you. Sorry. Me Too. It's a Me Too era. Keep your hands in your pockets, folks, like Warnock.
That's right.
All right, let's see. I'm going to play a couple more things here. We're starting to run out of time. My gosh, it's 4:46.
Yeah, as I say.
The Angry Girlfriend variant. So, yeah, it was destroyed. It was a comic I lent to this girl as a sign of affection. I gave her my prized comic on loan to show her how much I cared about her. And no big deal. Things happen. And
well, now I want to read this. So some dude and I don't know him, Aaron Myers, on Newsweek, he writes this article. Aaron Myers, comic collector and co-host of Comics Therapy Podcast, described to Newsweek how, and this is in quotes, the Angry Girlfriend issue has become a part of comic collecting lore.
Bullshit.
It used to pass from dealer to dealer, and finally, one dealer got it graded. Now, the reality of this is that Chance got this defaced comic book back and sold it to...
it was Titan Games and Comics in Smyrna.
Who then
in 1990.
Who then sold it. And the current owner...
At Dragon Con.
And
a convention.
To the current owners. Who... in
1993 is allegedly when they sold it, Titan, to these people who have it now.
Who at their own admission in a text or whatever to Chance were like, we've owned this book longer than you have. Okay. So this whole fiction that this has been some sought after underground, it's gone from dealer to dealer, and it's finally resurfaced, is a bunch of hooey. Now, where the story gets really strange is these guys that own this book, as we were talking about earlier, comic books are graded from a 0.5 up to a 10. Now, with the damage on this book...
9.8 is the highest one I've ever seen. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
With the damage on this book, it graded a 1.8, which, considering the desirability of this issue, is still worth some money. I want to say it was like, it was like $300-$400 or something like that. Last time we looked when we were talking about the story. And these guys were wanting $10,000 for it.
At first.
Because of the supposed cachet on it being this, underground variant. It's like, look, dude, anybody out there, if you want me to take a Sharpie and ruin one of your comic books, you just call me up because I'll be happy to do it. But the story got so crazy where they were wanting this absurd amount of money on a book that's graded. So once again,
based on bullshit lore that doesn't exist.
On lore that they created.
Yeah, and the Newsweek article, I mean, the way it's written, it's almost like, is this guy who wrote this article in on it? I mean, what's he talking about?
Well,
that it went from dealer to dealer, as
right,
you just mentioned.
Right. I want to know why Newsweek decided to cover this, because it was no issue. There was no hype about this comic.
None.
So I kind of wonder if the guys that owned it got a hold of Newsweek and they're like, oh yeah, we've got a hold of this Angry Ex-Girlfriend comic that's finally resurfaced, and they created a story out of thin air to get $10,000 for a comic book. Then once again, I'd have to go to gocollect.com and look up Amazing Spider-Man number 14 at a 1.8, but there is a graded value, and once again, it's not a speculative value. It is what that issue currently is selling in, graded in that condition. And so for these clowns to try to turn a $400, $500, I don't care.
They want $100,000 now.
Yeah, to $100,000.
They claim all these famous people are after it.
They claim all
kinds
kinds of
Nicolas
stuff.
Cage.
They claim all kinds of crap. They claim that, it's finally resurfaced. It's claimed that, it's gone from dealer to dealer.
It's never left the state of Georgia.
It's never left the state of Georgia.
They're in Rockmart, Georgia, these clowns.
They're in Rockmart, Georgia.
A couple of hayseeds.
Chance actually even reached out to him and said, hey, man, just for...
I wanted to buy it back.
For nostalgia purposes. And like I said, he held up his. Now, just for the camera and for our listeners, where I was saying theirs is a 1.8, okay? Here's mine.
And mine.
Here's mine, which is a graded...
Fistful of Radio Facebook page.
A 3.5, a CGC, a 3.5, okay? I spent $700 on this, which is double their grade of their 1.8, roughly. All right? And I spent $700 on this. And they want $100,000 for this comic. So anybody who sees this anywhere, feel free to go and laugh at them and go, you're an idiot. Because clearly they are. They've fabricated a story. They've fabricated a backstory that was somehow picked up by a legitimate news source that didn't know any better. And basically they're trying to hype this product of theirs to milk it for the most money. And I've seen comic book channels, not the We Love Comics channel that I reference that I love, but I have seen other comic book channels. One was Comic Book Tom, which has thousands and thousands of followers, where they were discussing this comic book. And I even commented, it's like, hey dude, I know Chance. I know the original owner of this. And like I said, my advice is anybody collecting comics, buyer beware, because there are shysters and there's the villains, people that just want to make a buck. So you gotta watch your back.
Amen. Amen, my brother. So yeah, look it up. Angry Girlfriend variant on your search engines.
Ex-Girlfriend variant, I think is how it shows up.
Oh, okay. Well, I've found it on Angry Girlfriend variant, but it was a beautiful copy before it was destroyed. By the way, it was. It must have. By the naked eye, I gave it, based on the way I recall it, maybe a 9.2. I mean, it was immaculate.
The thing is,
almost perfect condition.
Even if it wasn't defaced, based on the high condition of it, it still wouldn't be worth $100,000.
No.
I mean, once again, I'd have to look it up, but it might be 15 to 20,000.
Jeff Logan commented 1.8 of that book is $775
Yeah.
to prove your point.
Now, yeah.
$100,000, really?
Yeah, clowns.
Yeah. And I wish I could comment. Facebook has restricted me from commenting for a week for no reason, which I mentioned at the beginning of the show. For no reason.
Remember these guys' names? Because
Shane somebody.
Shane somebody. Like, shame on you, Shane.
Okay.
You freaking clown.
Before we run out of time, I have a game I want to play. I wanted to play this with Ryan, too, by the way, but he's not here. He has like a medical issue. Yeah, he's not feeling well. Hopefully he'll be here next time.
We're thinking about you, buddy. We wish you were here.
We do, because you named the show. This is Channel 0. And, all right, so let's see what we've covered. I wanted to play a couple sounds and see if you can guess the video game. Don't look. You're cheating. Don't look at my laptop
I don't have
screen.
my glasses on. I can't see
Actually,
that far. Chance.
All right, hang on a second. I got something for you that'll jog a memory. How about this? Do you remember this movie? Let me get the volume up. Let me get this ad out of here. Here we go. All right, now hang on. You'll remember this. Let me pot it all the way up. There. Remember this? Let's do this.
It's War Games with
Matthew Broderick.
Yeah.
And Ali Sheedy.
Yeah.
Remember that? Shall we? So we will
Thermo
play a game. Nuclear
war.
Oh, here's a clip. Listen, it's kind of low audio. He's got the nuclear codes.
Yeah. Wouldn't you like to play a nice game?
He's just
of
saying
chess?
what you said, so I'll stop it. But all right, don't look.
I can't see that far, Chance.
All right. Name the video game. And I'll buy you a pack of cigarettes if you get this.
Okay. Stargate Defender.
You win. I owe you a pack of cigarettes.
Boom, boom.
That's good. Well, there's more. There's
Okay,
more.
cool. Let's do
but
it.
You only get one pack of cigarettes because I'm not rich. All right. What is this game? It's pulling up. Give it a sec. Wait for it. That's an intro. That's not it. Hold on. Hang on. There it is. Let me know when you give. Give up.
Is it Berserker?
Nope. Tempest.
Oh, yeah.
We will continue.
They sound so similar, man.
Well, those are the early games of the 1980s. That was another thing that's come and gone in our lifetime. By the way, go to Nostalgic Podblast on YouTube or the Nostalgic Podblast on Apple for past shows. We talk about pop culture. That's the show I co-host along with Al Hardy and Tom Williams. And you're a contributor there, Danny Cochran. Daniel Cochran's your name, of course, for those that don't know. And Ryan Settles is a regular contributor as well. Here's another game before we run out of time.
Galaxian.
Nope. Galaga. You're close.
I said the F-bomb.
Okay. And do you remember this song pertaining to arcades? A thing of the past. If I could get past this stupid ad. Here we go. Okay. It's coming. There we go. Now, what is this? And remember this game.
Pac-Man.
Yeah. And remember this novelty song, Pac-Man Fever?
Actually, no.
Quarters and I'm headed to the arcade where the sluts are. I don't have a lot of money, but I'm bringing everything I made. I got a callus on my finger and my shoulder's hurting too.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna eat them all up just as soon as the time blue. Inky, Binky, Clyde, and Pinky.
Okay, wait. Stop this. Stop the madness, Chance.
Okay. You don't think that's catchy? All right.
Okay. Who sang that?
You.
Is he alive?
You made me close it.
Can we kill him?
Hold on. Yeah, we can. Hang on. What's this?
Like,
oh, we're running out of time.
Like, who's got that as their credit? Like, hey, man, I was like the creator of that song, Pac-Man Fever. Like,
remember this? The halftime Pac-Man. All right, so
how did Pac-Man enter this?
Because it's something on my agenda. I'm talking about nerd stuff today.
Well, no, I mean, but
Okay.
I would have thought you would have found like superhero video games, like Spider-Man, or I mean, there's got to be like Superman video games and stuff out there.
Got a bunch of stuff here, man.
know.
I don't know if Stefan will let us go past 5 because we were late or not, but
Yeah,
I
no.
promised him I'd be out here at 5:05. Here's another game, real quick. I think this is the last
Two
one.
more, two more,
No, here's
two
one.
more.
Here's one. Listen,
two more.
what's this game?
Two more chance. I feel like I'm thrust into.
What is this? Centipede. Run out of time. Another good one. This is a good one. This is a
Disney
goodie.
Plus,
This
Hulu,
is a
and
goodie. Oh, you son of a bitch. No. Voiceover artist. Okay, here we go. All right, listen to this. Can you guess this game? Shall we play a game? Here we go. Let me get to the mark. I marked it, and there we go.
Missile Command.
Yes! Yes! Ding, 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 ding.
Gosh. It was the explosions. That's where I got that. The boom, boom, boom.
And
oh my gosh.
And how about do you like pinball at all? I guess I won't torture you with pinball, but I love this song from a pinball game called Roller Games.
Oh,
It was
see, I thought you were
based
gonna
on-
play the Who Pinball Wizard.
I have that, but I'd get dinged for copyright.
Yeah. Sounds like a Cylon.
I love these sounds, man.
Yeah. Your choice of music is reflected by your love of these digital sounds.
What does that mean? Rock, roller games.
I just don't like synthetic noise, man.
games.
I never have. Like who's playing drums? Like not like a drum machine, not synthetic drums. Who's playing guitar? Nobody. I just don't like synthetic.
Well, I had a
sounds.
bunch of clips we didn't get to because we were late because of technical difficulties and me getting stuck in traffic. Me. Yeah. You were here like
early.
We're supposed to meet at 1:15. You were here at 1. This is Black Knight 2000 pinball game from 1989.
It's 5-0-0 chance. I think we're just gonna have to sign off of that, or
Here,
guess
let's
not.
do this.
He's gonna keep going.
Well,
he's gonna keep going.
There's a whole bunch of stuff I didn't get to,
We'll
folks.
save it for Radio Zero with Ryan Settles.
Yeah, when Ryan returns.
Yeah, and when we have somebody who can actually field your live phone calls, people, if you try to call in live, I apologize. I know I got a hold of a bunch of people and hyped up that you would be able to call into the live radio show. But
I wasn't watching. I'm running the board and running my mouth, and I wasn't looking at the screen. I'm sorry. If anyone called in and we didn't take the call, that's why. It's my fault.
So this is the maiden voyage of Radio Zero. We appreciate your indulgence. We hope you learned a few things. We hope you had a few laughs.
And hope we can do it again sometime.
And we will definitely do it again sometime. And if we've
now
learned anything,
return control of your television set to you. Until next week at this
Chance
same
is the
time,
biggest geek of them all.
Control voice will take you.
We love you, audience.
Fistfulofradio.com.
So how do we turn off and
Well,
sign
let's
off?
keep going. That's the end. I guess the official end.
Well,
but until Stefan enters the room, I will keep going with the stuff I wanted to share with our
know,
wonderful audience. That's what your wife named the nostalgic. Now, this isn't a nostalgic podblast. This is Channel Zero.
Yeah.
But
Danny from
the audience is what
Danny
your wife
from Channel
called.
Zero is telling us to drive back to Athens Point Zero.
Oh, I got you. All right. Well, darn. I wanted to cover some great movies that pertain to today.
I know,
And I have some clips.
I know,
but
Jan, you try to cover too much, man. Like put a pin in it. And let's save
like
it
a grenade. Pull the pin.
Yeah, man. Let's put a pin in it. Let's save it for next time. You try to cover everything. And it's like let's just let's cover a couple of things very well, and save.
All right, well, then I'll play us out with our theme here.
Okay. Wow, that's right. We have a theme. I forgot that. This is much better than that techno crap. Radio Zero.
We'll see you next time, maybe in a couple weeks, maybe
Radio
next
Zero.
month, or
Zero.
maybe never.
0, Radio
But Nostalgic Podblast will be back next week, 2 to 5, Saturday and Sunday, right here on Fistful of Radio and fistfulofradio.com. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for letting us invade the airwaves. And our topic next week on the Nostalgic Podblast will be The Three Stooges with a great exclusive from Al Hardy from 1981 from a long-deceased director of The Three Stooges. So, see you then.
Thanks, everybody.
It was a lot of fun. I'm sorry.